Andrew, you've said that the government, particularly the Prime Minister, obviously has handled this one well, and actually Yvette Cooper has set in motion a number of measures to try and improve the situation. How are the Conservatives dealing with this?
Well, it's absolutely fascinating watching the Conservatives look over one shoulder at the public and their natural constituency and the other shoulder at reform, and then thinking about Musk. There were things that Kemi Badenoch has said in the last few weeks which seemed designed to attract the approbation of Elon Musk, and which have done so successfully, I think, because he was retweeting some of the things she said in the Commons. But at the same time, really, really dangerous for her to go down some of these rabbit holes. You know, she wants to be a respected major national figure, and she has to be careful with some of the conspiracy theories. So very, very interesting how she aligns herself. You know, she referenced the case and said that she would be saying more after the judgment when the time came and when it was appropriate, and then stopped and pivoted to a much stronger, I think, Conservative argument about academies, educational excellence and the current education bill, and stayed with that. And there's a fair amount of jeering in the Commons on both sides about that clear pivot. But what she was saying is, I know this stuff matters. I know the world of Elon Musk and reform and all of that is really important, and I have to keep thinking about it. But I must be, as it were, a normal political leader, and I'm therefore going to come back to our conventional and, familiar agenda. I thought it was really interesting the way she handled it. She has not been performing very well in Prime Minister's questions, but this week she had her best performance because she had something real to talk about. The PISA league tables on maths and English, and England doing better and better than that, and the dangers of academies being obliged to stick to every aspect of the national curriculum and pay teachers the same as they would be paid in comprehensive and all of that. So I thought she is dancing a difficult dance, but she's dancing it a little bit more elegantly than she has been in recent weeks.
Just want to mention the Robert Jenrick Telegraph piece. He says Starmer's decision not to release all this information in the summer that we've heard this week about Axel Rudakubana contributed to the anger which spilled into the riots, and that the sense of a cover-up will permanently damage trust in the criminal justice system. Do the Conservatives who are continuing to bang this drum about cover-up, have they got a point, or is this just shameful political point scoring?
I think if you go all the way back to the grooming gangs scandal, there is a bit of a point. I think an awful lot of people in the Labour Party who are involved locally in councils and so forth were squeamish and didn't want to be fingered, didn't want to come out publicly. And there was a kind, not a cover-up, but a general reticence about talking about what was going on, which was, despite the, we've talked in the past about Andrew Norfolk and individual journalists up and down the country raising these issues, and the BBC making films and all that. Despite all of that, there was a general icy silence from the top of politics about it. So to that extent, the public suspicion of the state has some justification. I think on this particular case, it has absolutely none at all. And I think, I don't want to personalise this, but I think the right have got to be very, very careful of, at one and the same time, as it were, pointing their finger at people like Keir Starmer and the Home Secretary and the government and saying, liar, liar, liar. And then when people respond, to say, well, it's not our fault because they should have been more open at the beginning. They can't have it both ways.
Jacob, actually, our contempt of court laws come into this quite a lot, don't they, as well? And the interplay that we haven't managed to catch up with the online world. And I wonder how, particularly in this case with the Southport murders, that misinformation being spread online and all the rumours swirling around, how you think they all interconnect these issues?
Well, in the case of the immediate aftermath of the Southport attack, what we saw was online misinformation go from 0 to 100 in about 2 seconds. Minutes, sort of within a matter of minutes or a couple of hours after the attack, we saw this sort of information spreading online. I think in that case, the cat is out of the bag. It's very difficult to go out and present facts to debunk this sort of information in the public eye.
And the police gave it a go, didn't they? Saying that's not the name.
Well, absolutely. But what it does is it feeds into these pre-existing grievances, these pre-existing worldviews. It activates, in this case, far-right sentiment, which has been bubbling under now for well over a decade. And of course, the way these social media platforms operate, their business models don't help things, actually exacerbate the problems here, right? They, in many ways, are designed to amplify content which keeps eyes on screens, which helps them with their advertising revenue, right? But what these business models mean is quite often the sort of content which is being fed into people is that which is most likely to inflame tensions.
And could just be downright false.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this case, absolutely was outright false. So I think there is a conversation to be had here, but we are dealing in an environment where information means that this sort of mass disorder, this sort of extremist mobilization is really very easy and very quick to activate.
I think the idea that, Keir Starmer could have intervened right at the beginning and laid out information in a way that would have calmed public fears is absolute nonsense. I think people were so angry so quickly. Jacob's absolutely right. It's the speed of this. And what would they have said? He was born in Cardiff. Would they have gone into the family background and the Rwanda genocide?
Well, there was the also issue that he was under 18, of course.
And under 18, of course.
We have rules about identifying.
Absolutely. Would they have said there is no terrorist involvement of any kind here at all? How could they have known that at this point? Frankly, we don't really know even now. So I can't see anything that could have been said from the government quickly enough to actually change things.
I think maybe one of the difficulties is that journalists are really familiar with contempt of court laws. We know what we can and can't say, and we're given access to much more information. But the millions of people on social media perhaps aren't.
I think it's, in general, when you're looking at the alternative media ecosystem, also a breakdown in journalistic ethics, right? It doesn't, proper journalistic practice doesn't matter when you can literally just hop on, fire out an article which is full of falsehoods or which, really appeals to, these base grievances, which is in many cases designed to exacerbate extremism. And that's like a real challenge.
What really matters in all of this is that a jury is able to sit down, uninfluenced by conspiracy theories or extreme statements, look each other in the eye and have a conversation entirely about the evidence that was presented in court and come to a decision. That's what matters.
That's why contempt of court laws exist.
That's why they exist. And that's why, the single most important thing is to ensure that nobody's looking at their mobile devices during a court case. I don't think it's really, to be honest, about the mainstream media here.